So for the past 6 years, I've been living in Tokyo, Japan, managing my own business. And so here are 7 of the most valuable skills you need to make money in Japan. Now, if you've read things about Japan, or maybe you've watched some movies or things like that, then you might know that certain businesses in Japan actually get carried over multiple generations of the same family. And so from a very young age, the son already knows that he's eventually going to take over his father's business, just like his father did and his father before him. And listen, it's quite possible that he's not even very passionate about that business, or that he doesn't think it's his life's calling, or whatever you'd like to call it. But in reality, this doesn't matter. What matters is that through his upbringing, he's developed a strong sense of discipline and responsibility towards his family's craft. And it's exactly this that will eventually turn him into the master that will hand down the business and shape the future generations. And I think for some of us, particularly in some parts of the Western world, we tend to give a lot of importance to our passions, to what we like and what kind of dream we should follow. And as I've grown professionally, I've come to realize that this can actually be quite a damaging piece of advice. Because guess what? What you're passionate about today, you might not be passionate about next month. So if every time you're passionate about something new, you decide to start a new business based on your new idea, then every time you'll be erasing all your progress and starting again from zero. Because don't forget that every time you start over, the rules of the game also change. So even if you have prior business experience, that might not even apply to your current business. So you end up turning around the same point every time without making any progress. On the other hand, if you actually approach it with discipline and responsibility, then you will also inevitably, given the right amount of time, turn into a master of your own craft. And then you'll actually be able to create real value and offer it to the world. So don't give unnecessary importance to your passion. In fact, you should turn your passion into your hobby and do it during your free time, during a time that you can actually do it because you're certain that you want to do it. Because otherwise what can happen is that if you set on top of your passion the weight of making money, the weight of growth, the weight of sustaining your livelihood, then you can eventually damage whichever love you might have for it, and you end up killing it. Take it from personal experience. I've been there before, and I've also met many people who've been in that position. So my advice for you is don't turn your passion into your business. Now, one of the things that impressed me the most when I first came to Japan was actually how different the market can be in terms of consumer behavior and preferences. If you take into account things like the way they design their websites or the way the banking system works, which in the West might be a little bit more streamlined or minimalistic, here in Japan we might perceive it a little bit more convoluted. In any case, you'll quickly realize that people here not only consume but also interact very differently with services and products. And I've also met a number of people that come to Japan and try to jam their businesses into the market without acknowledging any of these differences and try to make it work exactly the way it worked back home. And then of course they end up wondering why they're not getting the results that they expected. So the quicker you learn to accept these differences and adapt them into your business, then the quicker you'll be able to get it off the ground and fully integrate it into the Japanese market. See it a little bit like a restaurant, if you will. Certain restaurants, particularly the ones that serve traditional or regional food, tend to adjust the level of spice or certain tastes in their food so that they can better suit the local palate and the local clientele. Because of course maybe the people in your local area might not be used to that level of spice. And so if you actually serve it the real traditional way, which we could argue would be the best way, you might actually not see the level of success you would see otherwise. And so being adaptable and willing to adjust your business model, your services and your products to better suit the local market is crucial to becoming a successful business owner, not only in Japan, but anywhere in the world. So you should always research the behavior of the market before you jump in so that you can find the best angle of approach. And now, it goes without saying that if you actually want to be successful in Japan, then having a deep cultural understanding can be a very good tool in your favor. And that includes understanding things like the need for respect, the hierarchy system, and even the importance of indirect communication. If you'd like to learn more about that, then you can go watch this video right here. I'll leave the link down in the description so that you can go watch it right after you finish this one. So understanding these cultural nuances is going to help you build stronger relationships with your clients, with your business partners, and even with your employees. Think about it, maybe the way you do things back home might be considered normal, but here in a different part of the world, they might be seen as abrasive, improper, or maybe even impolite. So just like the restaurant from before would have to adjust the level of spice, then you should also adjust the behavior of your business to better suit the way that they interact with each other. And that of course also applies to the language. Speaking or at least understanding the basics of a language is going to be crucial when it comes to your business dealings and even your negotiations or daily operations. And even if you're not absolutely fluent, just having a basic understanding already shows certain level of commitment and respect that's without a doubt going to be very appreciated by your relationships in this country. But now I can already hear you saying, but Gabriel, I only deal with foreign customers and all my clients are in other parts of the world, so I don't need to speak Japanese. No. Even if you're only dealing with foreigners, all your paperwork, all your business applications, all your documents, all your loan applications, everything is going to be in Japanese. And even if you hire someone to do it on your behalf, if you want to have an idea or if you want to be aware of what's happening in your business, you have to have at least a basic level of understanding of the language. Think of it the other way. What would happen if you're back home in your country, and how sustainable or successful do you think your business could be if you didn't speak or understand the local language? Now, we all know the saying, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. And even if you like to do things in a certain way back home, you'll find that you'll be quickly changing certain behaviors to interact more harmoniously with your clients and your partners and so on. Japanese business etiquette can be very structured. And so knowing things like how to interact with each other properly, how to greet each other properly, the importance of punctuality and the hierarchy system and so on can actually be very beneficial when it comes to building your relationships with your partners, with your clients, and even with other institutions like banks and so on. Although, in all honesty, taking into account globalization, these things have become a little bit more flexible as of the last handful of years, particularly in the business setting. Certain businesses, especially modern businesses, are starting to question the necessity or the need for these seemingly outdated practices, like the infamous Meiji exchange, this ceremony where you end up exchanging business cards back and forth. And so, even though these are things that you might not necessarily implement into your business, it is still very much the norm in places like banks, so you should definitely be aware of them. However, having said that, actually being creative and offering something of true value is what's going to set you apart from your competitors. And that also includes knowing when to pivot or when your business needs to change directions completely. In short, you need to understand and accept when you've made a mistake, when you've gone down the wrong path, and when you need to fix it quickly to save the life of your business and, quite honestly, your quality of life as well. Because when your livelihood and the livelihood of your family are in danger, that can actually be a huge weight on your shoulders. And so that's why when people ask me for advice, I don't generally suggest that they should just go and create their own business or become an entrepreneur, particularly in a country like this one, because that can generate a lot of stress. And for some of us, maybe the better choice would be to work for someone else's company and have a stable salary, and then you can also clock out at the end of the day. That's also a great alternative, and you can enjoy your life outside of work. The problem is that many people get obsessed with the idea of being an entrepreneur and the glamour of being a business owner, and they actually ignore the huge amount of failure, stress, anxiety, and work that's on the other side of the curtain. So don't get hung up on the idea of becoming an entrepreneur, because depending on your needs, actually being an employee can also give you a great quality of life. Now, Japan is very well known for focusing on the needs of their customers. After all, service is an integral part of their culture, and even the word samurai originally meant the person who serves. After all, these were warriors that served the emperor. Now, in modern times, of course, service is expressed a little bit differently, but they still focus greatly on constantly improving the quality of their products and serving their customers in the best way possible. And if you want to have a loyal following and a good clientele here in Japan, you have to do the same. It's as simple as that. And so an interesting trend I've come to realize here in Japan is that when a customer decides to become your customer, they can actually become some of the most loyal and supporting customers anywhere in the world. And from the moment they like what you offer, they'll basically stay with you until the end. I've had this personally happen to me. I've had customers who used to live here in Japan and they've since moved to other parts of the world. But instead of finding a similar business in the country where they're in, they continue to want to work with me because they like the quality of the service that I offer. And just to give you a more local example, just in my neighborhood a few months ago, a very loved supermarket closed its doors for the last time after 20 years of service. On the same day that they closed, at the very end of the day, basically everyone from their neighborhood came to the supermarket to thank all the staff members and the manager for the service of the past 20 years. And that was actually very moving. You could see the manager actually swelling up with tears as he was giving his goodbye speech, just from all the appreciation that everyone was showing him in return for the dedication that he had shown them for 20 20 years. So it doesn't matter if you have a young business, it doesn't matter if you're starting from zero, or it doesn't matter if you've been doing it for decades. You can never underestimate the importance of treating your customers well. I know that these are lessons that I find myself constantly coming back to make sure that my business is going the right direction and that I continue to have the right tools to do so. And so I suggest you do the same. You can put this video in your watch list and come back to it in 6 months or in a year to make sure that your business is still going where you want it to go. And if you'd like to know how to actually set up and start your own business here in Japan, then go ahead and watch this video right here. And in the meantime, take care and I'll see you next time.